Hello, this is Matthew Nanas from Chapters Creative, and today we are going to talk about the legendary pop punk band Blink 182 and talking about their brand and their website. So you might be asking yourself, why a music artist? Why a band? Why not a brand? So I don't know if you know my history, but I've spent years playing music in hardcore bands, metal bands, folk bands. I've had the full musical gamut, and I've spent some time on tour. From 18 to 22, basically on tour. Off and on. I've spent some time on the Warped Tour. I did 3 weeks or so at one point, and this is a world I still very much care about. But I also think if you are more on the brand side of things, more marketing, that kind of stuff, there's a lot to learn from music artists, because I think we can get some ideas from these bands and see how they do things. I do have criticisms about bands and their websites, and I'm sure I'll be talking about that here today. But I just think there'll be some insights here that will think a little bit differently about how you're branding and marketing your business or your brand. So we're here on their website. And so a little bit of backstory on Blink-182. They've been around for a long, long time. And if you see these three fine gentlemen, Travis, Tom, and Mark, they've been the core of Blink-182 for a long, long time. I think since like 1999 and 1998. And they're back. Last year, or this past year, they played Coachella. They've already done a tour. And, they already released one single, but they just released a couple of other singles, particularly the song called One More Time, which is the name of their new album as well. And as most musical artists do, they have a refresh of their website and logos and stuff like that. And the interesting thing to me about bands is that almost every album, they have the excuse to rebrand one way or another. And for instance, if you know about Blink-182 in their past, they have had, a dancing rabbit as their logo, for a couple of albums at least. And then they've changed it to like a kind of like graffitied face. and that's on their self-titled at least. But the point is, almost at every juncture, they've done things to change who they are visually, and maybe not so much like personally, but this is a band that has potty humor, and over the years, even that softened a little bit too. And we'll talk about that a little bit as well as we go through their website. So before we get started, if you have any interest of what I do, go to chapterscreative.com. I do brand messaging and storytelling. And also you can find me on LinkedIn at Matthew Nanas, and also on Instagram at Chapters Creative. So with that out of the way, let's get to it. So once we get to the page here, you see this picture of Travis, Tom, and Mark. And this is pretty they're not going for anything that's super stylish here. They're just being who they are. I wouldn't expect, if you're looking at Tom DeLonge here in the middle, he has a backwards baseball cap. That's pretty par for the course for him. If you're familiar with them in their self-titled, of course he had like the emo bangs and stuff like that. But even the backwards hat, he had that during their, early Cheshire Cat Dude Ranch kind of days. So that's nothing new at all. This feels pretty like punk. This feels pretty authentic to who they are. And I'm glad they came back. They're not putting on a certain type of new, brand new look. Like, this is who they are. And I think rock bands, they could run the risk of being a little too normal. Of course, like t-shirt and jeans guy, like how I was, when I was in music, I didn't really have any visual signifiers that would say like, oh, that dude is different. I was just a dude. And I think rock bands kind of run that risk. But the thing about Blink-182 is that they've paved the way to do whatever they want. And as a brand, if you've been around for 20 years, if you're or more, you kind of have the wherewithal to kind of do like whatever you want in a way, right? And so like you've earned the right to make certain changes, like depending if they're successful or not, that's fine. But like I think you've earned the right to even try. But what I appreciate about Blink-182, at least like in the splash page, you can see them as people. They haven't really changed much at all. They've always been skate kids from San Diego, and even though they're pushing in their 50s by now, I believe so, like their 50s, they're still the same people, but not in a bad way. Not the fact that they've stunted their growth by any means. Because if you're a fan of the band, you know exactly like their story. And for instance, Tom DeLonge here, he left the band to do a lot of space stuff, like UFO things. And that was derided, like people didn't really understand that. But there is some weirdness with that. And also Mark just recently, he beat cancer, and that was a serious thing. But like the thing is with this band, they just released a video kind of explaining why they're back together again. And it comes from the heart, I believe. I think it's something that they felt, why does it have to take bad things to happen in order for them to get back together again? And that's the narrative of this record. And so the fact that there's like, brand story, here's this band, 3 skate kids from San Diego, but with each album, they have a new narrative. At least you should. That can go the same way for brands, right? You have your core message of who you are, not so core message, but like core personality, who you are. But what's the message? What's the thing that's going to get people interested in you? And everyone loves a good story. And so when you understand that this is their story and you've been following along, you're invested in this. And that's why I believe this album, One More Time, is going to be a success. I'm not sure it's going to be like a #1 record, but the narrative is strong. And if you've seen any video of them playing at Coachella or their current tour, they're as solid as ever. So this is probably the best the band has ever been. But there are some changes. For instance, on this top left, this Blink-182, this is a brand new logo for them. They have a couple of logos. They have like the standard logo and then the face logo. This is brand new. This is it's still somewhat edgy and still has some like graffiti influence to it, but it's pretty simple. And the thing that I like about I think the interesting thing about band websites is they're not beholden to some of the same rules as brand websites. I'm gonna have trouble with that. Brand. They don't need a catchy headline. They don't need taglines. The things that bands can do is they can let the music or the video speak for itself. So the fact that they have a new record coming out, they're giving you multiple CTAs of like pre-ordering now, and depending on like what you want. If you want the Amazon exclusive vinyl, you got it there. The indie retail exclusive vinyl, you can get it there, especially for the punk crowd. I think they're going to rather shop there than Amazon. But then pre-added pre-save, and you have a countdown, so people can expect this. I think they're doing a really good job of telling the story, and the fact that there's a countdown, I think it's important for their fans to understand that there's this anticipation, right? So let's keep going on this front page here. We can understand what they're doing. All right, so I'm not going to play this video because this video will likely get taken down by the record label. Then they have the song One More Time, which is, if you've heard the song, it's a great encapsulation of why they're doing what they're doing. It's kind of like their manifesto for this record. The fact that it takes these horrible things that happen to them for them to come together and make great art. And I think it's like that in our lives. Like something bad will happen to us, like we lose a loved one or something catastrophic happens, like losing a house or whatever. It tends to help center us on what's important in our lives. I think everyone can relate with that. So I think it's it's not a great song, but like it's a really meaningful song. And I think something that brands can do is make meaningful content. Like, why do you do what you do? Like, why does it matter? And I think the more that brands lean on the meaning of behind what they do and not just like selling stuff, I think it'll endear them to their audience a lot more. All right, so here's some evidence of their other logo. So I believe at one point for the self-titled, they had 4 arrows, but now they have the 5th. I do believe there's some meaning behind it. Someone will have to tell me what the meaning is. I don't know if it's like how many records they have. So there's Cheshire Cat, Dude Ranch. I'm not counting Buddha. Let's not count Buddha. Cheshire Cat, Dude Ranch, Enema of the State, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, self-titled. No, so it's not the records. We've already got past 5. But anyway, that's a signifier that tells people like this is the same band that you knew when it was back in the self-titled days. And if you heard one of the other songs, I forget what it's called right now, you would understand like they're picking up where they left off there as far as like the same vibe. Like even that One More Time song has like a kind of like an I Miss You vibe to it. So their fans can take a look at that and be like, okay, they're really back. Because since the self-titled, they've put out records here and there, but having that signifier of that logo with the small little change have made their fans really excited. I saw like a whole Twitter thread of people like freaking out about it. Next order of business is their tour dates. So any band will have tour dates. So much like a product, you need to know where to buy that product. You need to know how to order it. So they have this here in the front page. So looks like this is mostly Europe. You can remind yourself of RSVP or tickets. So super simple stuff here. And the fact that it's on the front page, that's fine too. This is the main way bands make money. And so if it was like any other type of brand or whatever, like you wouldn't want to put like all the stores your product's going to be at like on the front page, even though you can say like, oh, but Matt, like that's how they make money too. But like bands really, really make their money on tour. So I think it's important for bands to be doing that. And then for you as well, like if you even just have like a small search, if you're like a CPG brand, have a small search of like store lookup and it just like populates and not have it take so much real estate, I think that's fine. But I think bands can get away with this a little bit more. All right, so there's a tour button. Let's just click it to see. I do like that just doesn't like take you to like it doesn't take you to the bottom of the page. There's no anchor there. It takes you to a brand new look and feel. Great picture of the band right here. The color changes here. Also, this is the first time I'm seeing this page as well. So this is just a React at this point. And you got the video here again, and then straight to the pages. So not pages, but the tour dates. That's like the main focus. Of course, they want you excited about the song, but I'm glad there was a change here. So let's go over here as well to stall. Okay, what the hell is a stall? Let's go take a look. All right, we are now here at the stall. So what's going on here? So this is like a small flare of their poo-poo, pee-pee humor here. The fact there's urinary stalls here. So they've grown up. Like they're not going to like have fart sounds all over their website. So I think that's good. But there's still like a little nod to their like gross past here. So here you have a few things you can do here. Like this is an experience, and this is like a fun thing for the band here to do. So you got text, 363-831-0182 for a good time. I have not texted that, but I imagine that's some sort of marketing that you can keep in contact. So that's great. Just another type of like newsletter type of thing. The Spotify button, you click on it and you can connect to Spotify to, listen to their music. Let's go ahead and click this crappy punk rock. So we clicked on the record. It takes you to where you can listen to their song Edging, which came out, I think, earlier this year. You can listen to it wherever you like to listen to music. All right, you've got that there. And you've got this. Basically, from there, you can hear parts of the record, but it's also hard to stop. So that's not great. So I had to get out and get back in to get it to stop. But I think you can hear snippets of their new record on that. So I think that's pretty cool. This television over here, I'm pretty sure you can watch the music video there. Let's click on the Blink-182 face. That takes you to a YouTube tour update. It's pretty cool. All right, let's click on this video. Yep, it brings up the brand new video. Anyway, all that is to say is that Blink-182 is, with this stall section, has given like a cool experience where you can learn more about the band in a way that's not just like a typical way. So I think with brand websites, you can do the same thing. You can create interesting content in a way they can present it where it's fun to click on things. Like, although there's not like a ton of like interactivity here, this is just a fun and unique way to present information, right? So I think this is a fun Easter eggy type of bit of content. So you click on this Blink-182, it takes you back to the main website. So let's go from there. All right, so let's go to music. All right, so it doesn't take you to like a discography or anything like that. It takes you to, this is not our album covers where you can, so it looks like, okay, so One More Time, More Than You Know. So it looks like this is where you can listen to the single One More Time and also the quote unquote B-side More Than You Know. One thing I wish bands were able to do is the idea of creating lore. So I just spent a few minutes at the beginning of this video talking about the Blink-182 lore. I'm not even that much of a invested fan in this band. Like, I mean, I loved Dude Ranch, Enema of the State. You know, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket is like, okay, that's fine for me. And then the self-titled, but that's like where my fandom like kind of ended. But I still very much like invested that I read like the news about this band. I know what's happening, right? It's not like I don't like them. But the fact is that bands and brands have an opportunity to keep building lore, to build the knowledge and deepening the affinity of their fans by helping them with like content, right? So when I click on that music button, what I want to see is like a huge discography, and I want to be able to see what song they released as a B-side to like What's My Age Again or something like that. I want to be able to read lyrics. I want to be able to like read commentary, anything to deepen the relationship between band and listener, and the same thing with brand and customer. So as a brand, use content as a way to reveal like different stories, whether it's like, okay, what does it look like in our factory? What does it look like for one of our, like say if you're Monster Energy drink and you sponsor like a writer, like, you know, what's a day in the life for them? So like basically using your platform as a way to produce media for your audience, or give different little pieces of information, like trivia basically. So I encourage every band to do this. I think Bob Dylan's website does a really great job of this. At least like having every like every like lyric of every song he's ever done, you can look it up on his website, so you don't have to rely on these like third party websites to read the lyrics, right? Like bring the people to where you are. All right, so let's move on to the store. Looks like the rain's coming down quite a bit, so I wonder if you can hear that, but that's all right. So here you can pre-order the CD or the vinyl of the new record. Let's see if it goes back. Okay, so it's only that. So I was looking for, you know, some merch from past from past eras. Let's click on apparel just to make sure. Okay, there it is. It's just not obvious. So I would say if you're going to have a store, just make it easier for people to understand, like there's other options here. I mean, I guess like it's obvious. It's like up here, apparel, accessories, media, but like I think there's a better way to do it when people first come in, right? You can have this as like your splash at first, but then like you can have a button saying like shop all offers, or I don't know, like shop the store, search the store, whatever like that. So that's neither here nor there. And then let's go to follow, making it really easy to follow them on social media, so you keep updated, and also the newsletter, which I believe newsletters for me is like the best way. Like getting someone's email is the best way to keep in touch with them. It's something I can personally do a lot better job of. All right, that's essentially the Blink 182 website. So what's the thing that a brand can take a look at this website and gather from Blink 182? I think the fact that there's this huge like history with the band, and you can learn more, especially with like the song here. Like if you wouldn't know, I don't know if you would know that was their it's not like, okay, so here's what I would say. As far as a weakness, brands can look from Blink 182's weakness here, because a website, at least for a band, is a great opportunity to deepen the lore and the affinity from the fan to the band, right? Why isn't there a history tab? Why isn't there a deeper music section? Why isn't there a lyrics tab? Like the website is such a way to deepen a connection between you and the audience that they can't get anywhere else. That, you know, of course, like you can have the media, you know, doing like pieces on you, like, and people are doing interviews and such like that. That's great. But your website is the way to curate that connection. And so, so for me, the stall section, as far as like having that deeper connection to having a fun experience for people to learn more about you, I wouldn't do this as like the, you know, above the fold at all. But like if there's a new like campaign and you want to send people there to, you know, have fun with your brand, go for it. I think that's a great idea. And honestly, like using, like if you're if you're a brand that has a long history, you can do stuff like that. But if you are a brand new brand, I think something like the stall would be an interesting opportunity to have like Easter eggs and people to play around and have a cool time when they're on their website. So I am going to do more of these because I think there's also room for opportunities for these bands on their websites and how they're presenting themselves. Of course, like the website to a lot of bands might be the last thing they think about. I would encourage them, should be like the first thing that they think about. Because like for me, a website is where a brand can really show off who they are as a brand to get people to know about them. So take that opportunity. If you have a brand, or even if you're a musical artist with a website, use that opportunity, use that real estate to deepen your relationship. And that is it, my friends. That is my review of the Blink-182 website. Hopefully you have learned something today. This was just a reaction to this. Like, I've only seen the front bit of the page and I'm just kind of going like riffing as I go. But overall, like, I do feel like the Blink-182 website does like at least like a very surface level encapsulation of who they are. You can really get a good idea about who they are on this. I think they can do better at celebrating their history and going deeper, but you know what? We can't have everything in life. So if you want to learn more about what I do, go to chapterscreative.com or go to Chapters Creative on Instagram or on LinkedIn. Search for me, Matthew Nanez. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you again soon.